know, it's riveting reading. Edge of the seat kind of stuff. I know, I understand that. You guys are statistical Americans. Sean, go.
Wouldn't sufficiency be based on what this subject's actually being measured, though?
Let's give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Let's give them a hall pass to make sure the measurement used was correct. The sufficiency is going to be a sample size calculation. What they're going to do with that sample, I'm giving them a hall pass for now. You've got a project next week that's on sampling that monitors the actual measurements a little bit better, and then you have entire classes devoted to that, maybe at OSU later, that, I mean, 10 weeks of just that kind of question answered. Got to give them a hall pass right now. We will get back to that and critique studies as we go as well. One could critique this study right away. They use telephone interviews, right? Telephone interviews, that's a problem.
And they did it right after the holidays.
They did it right after the holidays. That's a biasing problem. There's all kinds. We can pick holes in this, right? David, go ahead.
I was just saying 4% any of those could be the leading.
Thank you. That's what I want to focus on right now is let's assume all the measurements are good, all the data is good, and let's critique the conclusion that government itself is still cited as the top U.S. problem.
Because it could be 17%, and the ones at 16 could be like up at 20.
Thank you, friend. So what I've done is I've just made a colorful number line for you again. So there's 17 to 25%, which is what David just brought up, right? If you apply to the 21%, which is the government's percentage of concern, or Americans' percentage of concern with the government, 21%, it's got a 4% margin, which means it might be as low as 17, it might be as high as 25. So what they did was one prop Z and got those numbers. Fair enough? Good. Good, we got that, I believe. Okay, so what you have to believe is a fish in a tank. That fish, what does that fish represent?
The possibility.
The possibilities good of what? What are we trying to measure?
The leading cause of...
Right. In particular, can I make it a little more specific, Chris, if that's okay? I want to know what percent of Americans think the government's the problem. That fish represents the 95% confident possibilities. Go ahead, Rory.
Is like 16%. Is it 60% for unemployment, jobs, and healthcare?
I think each of those was 16%, I believe. Yeah, I think that's. But I left those alone and only. Oops, crap. Nope, I didn't put it on here. The problem is that the 18% and those 16%, once you apply the margins to them, get gobbled up in here. So you can't say that government's the top concern because it might have been any of those other ones too. If you want to be sure, go ask more people. It'll shrink your margin down, of course. But right there, that headline doesn't prove anything, does it? Doesn't prove anything. It definitely doesn't support itself. But we're in America. People don't read past headlines, right? They're going to read that headline, and that's it. It happened in 105, just yesterday. We were doing grade calculations in 105, and there's a roller coaster at Six Flags, New Jersey. This thing looks, I don't know how the hell it works. It's called like the Kingdom Ka, and it shoots you out at 180 miles an hour in these cars. You go essentially straight up a ramp and then swing around and come down. It looks like you pull like 8 Gs or something while you're in it. And the student was like, yeah, it beheaded 17 people. I'm like, and they're still running it? Yeah, they had to fix it. I'm like, no. They wouldn't have run it again if it beheaded people. So I go online and nobody bothered to check the claim. Somebody posted one of those yahoo.com answers. I heard this thing beheaded people. Yeah, it did. My brother-in-law in Tulsa told me. No, it didn't. But nobody bothers to read past the headline, real close to beheads people. No, it didn't. But nobody looks into this, right? They focus only on the headline, whether it's true or false. That's what we're getting to now. Here's another one for you. Right direction or wrong track, Rasmussen. Couldn't read that too. Oh, wait.
Thank you.
You got it. I'll just put this up front here. Oh, you got it. You too, Sean. Thank you. Hopefully by now you guys are going to those last couple sentences to look for commonalities and differences. How is it similar to the Gallup poll from a similar time?
Telephone.
Telephone poll? Yep. It's kind of like the best of the worst method of sampling telephone interviews. Best of the worst.
Same time period, too.
Same time period. I try to keep it relatively the same there. What else is the same? What confidence did they use?
95%.
95%. They keep using that, but Rory just noticed that the margin of error is 2 percentage points. How can you be at 95% confidence and have a 2% margin of error, Chris? sorry to pick it on you. You already told me the answer to this. How is the margin of error so small compared to the last one?
The sample's 3 times the size.
They asked more people! 3,500 versus, what was it, 1,000-ish, somewhere in there? Yeah. So more people shrinks the margin, right? So now, I want to look at these values. Here's your October 2013, right? A year ago, whatever it was, somewhere in there. In early October, which was big. Confidence fell to 13%. I got the wrong number line up here. Oh no, 36%, here it is. 36% said the country was heading in the right direction. Plus or minus 2% goes 34 to 38. We're happy there. January 2014, 29% of likely voters. With the same margin, 27 to 31. Is there a difference? Is there a difference? I like this one. Because there is a minimum difference, right? This one at its highest is 31. This one at its lowest is 34. What's the minimum measurable difference? 3%. Here's a tricky question. How confident are you in that result? This is a tricky question, and I've got an entire question devoted to it on your exam coming up, and you've got extra resources.
95%?
You're not 95 anymore, and here's why, Chris. Here's why. Here's why. This is a tricky 243 question. Hold that thought. If this were a parameter value, 29%, and this were 95% confidence, you'd be 95% confident. If this were a parameter value at 36%, and this were 95% confidence, you'd be 95% confidence. The problem is, both of these are at 95%.
Be 90.25%.
How'd you get that? Who taught you 243? I must have been a genius.
Oh.
How'd you get 90.25% error? How'd you do it?
Multiply
0.95 squared. This one's correct 95% of the time. This one traps the parameter 95% of the time. And this one traps the parameter. And, remember and from 243? And means multiply independently. Yeah, it's 0.95 squared. Every interval you slap on there, you drop confidence multiplicatively like that. Very nice. We'll come back to that point over and over again. We can control for it, because you're increasing error that way. We can control for it, and we will control for it. But just realize, when you start slapping intervals together, you run that risk of lowered confidence. It's still not terrible. 90% is not bad. But when you have to start looking at 10 and 11 things at a time, it does get pretty bad pretty quickly. Very nice connection. You guys, you remember that. I know you remember that. It's just that it's an interesting little 243 thing you have to then call back. But don't worry, it will never be far from now on in. Good. All right, there's your fishies. Notice how they can't touch each other. That's just another visual. The fish represent the parameters. There's no way those fish could ever be in the same tank. Excellent. All right, here's an old one. An old one. I like using this one. I heard this one on NPR years ago. But it doesn't even matter that it's old, because this is the more common one you're going to hear on the news. And I could, if I had a nickel for every time the news pisses me off, but go ahead, read that one. Muslims, the new untouchables. And to use that, whatever untouchables mean, they were talking about the unemployment rate. And they said, yes, Muslims can't get work, so that makes them untouchable. And I said, okay, I'm paying attention, listening, paying attention. And they said, oh yeah, 52% of Muslim men unemployed compared with 47% of Dalit men. To which I claim, well, they must have asked every single Muslim. Because there's no margin of error given, right? No margin given. They must have asked every single member of the Muslim caste in India. What's that, about 1 billion people? Right? Sure they had